Good afternoon, folks. This is Jay, and you are listening to the Cold Takes podcast. Tonight, we have one of our awesome regular co-hosts, Allie. How we doing?
We're doing great. How are you?
I am doing great. I just had some greasy, buttery bagels, and I almost fell over in my chair. I was so happy. So that works out. Um,
Nice.
Yeah. So definitely a lot happened in games this week for sure. There's
Oh, there
definitely
was.
a lot to talk about.
Yes, there
Um,
is.
so I think the first thing we'll cover is obviously the elephant in the room, and that's the amazing direct that just happened. Um, so what did you think of the announcements in the direct? Was it more or less than you thought? And what do you think about some of the individual things? What are you so like super excited about?
For some reason, I wasn't. I mean, okay, I was excited, but at the same time, I was expecting something more bigger, I guess. I don't know. First of all, I really thought there would be like a Zelda OLED, and everyone is swearing that we're gonna have another direct with Zelda in the like before its release, and that's probably when they're gonna announce this rumor of a Zelda OLED. And I was really hoping for that because they haven't reprinted Pokemon OLED limited edition. So I missed out and I don't have anything but a white Nintendo Switch right now. And I hate the boring white colors. So hoping something will happen. And I was really upset that they didn't announce that. I was also hoping that they would announce, you know, I don't know, instead of remasters and reprints, because I feel like that's all that we got for the direct. I was hoping that we would get some original titles like original Mario RPG. It's due for another release. I thought maybe if they were gonna do like real re-releases of old titles, a really good one, they could have made a completely new game of it. I was hoping was F-Zero. Like I was really wishing that they would take over that and do something new with it for our like Nintendo Switch now. But I watched it and there are some titles I'm really excited about. Like I'm excited for the Metroid Prime remastered. I'm excited for Baten Kaitos. Like I've seen my brother play that game when I was growing up and I really loved it, but I didn't have the time for it because I just had started working already. Like I was studying and working when it came out. So I was really hoping that one day I could play the game and I'm gonna have the chance finally. Like I'm excited for the really cute Illusion Island, which looks like a Metroidvania. I know it's probably just a little cute platformer, but everybody stay quiet because you know me and my Metroidvanias, and I need that. So, out of the entire direct, that one and Metroid Prime, I guess, were some of the things that were really exciting for me. But otherwise, I really felt like for DLCs, they should just have like a separate event. I don't know if you agree with me, Jay. Like, I feel like there should be a different event for all DLC releases. Like, stick with the Nintendo Direct and show us actual games. Don't just put in like 15 DLCs and then only like 5 or 6 games. It makes no sense. Um, I don't know, but there are other titles I'm excited for, of course, like Sea of Stars. Excited for that new Bayonetta game because it's not like the original Bayonetta. Professor Layton, of course, and Kirby. Like titles are really great. I just wish that there was some, I don't know, something in this direct. It was the first direct of the year. There should have been something powerful, and I didn't really see that. So,
Yeah, I can definitely echo you on the DLC sentiments. I finished Engage. I'm not really super interested in, having Hector as an emblem I can play now. Um, it'll be a while before I go back and revisit the game. Their little paralogs add some to the story, but um, I didn't, I wasn't blown away by the direct. And honestly, some stuff happened with the direct that upset me. So I've had quite a lot of kind of negative interaction on
mm,
Twitter with some folks that I've been jokingly referring to as Nintendo shills um, coming after me for disagreeing with the $70 price point um, on Tears of the Kingdom. And Me saying that I think that even though they're saying it's just for that game, that it won't be. Maybe not right away, but in the near future, that other games will, um, especially first party games, will be $70. And that even if it is just for fancy premium games that are on the larger carts that have more memory on them. Um, that's going to set a precedent now that anytime a game, I guess, is over a certain size, or if it's of like a premier quality, that we're going to pay extra for it. And I also made a point that it sets kind of a dangerous precedent that Sony or Microsoft might take up. And I hope this doesn't happen. But games they deem premium, say a new God of War release or another like Souls release. Um, maybe those will be $80 instead of $70 because they're considered premium releases. Um, I just, I guess I just don't get it. I had people try to explain economics to me, try to explain inflation to me, and I'm part of that system. I fully understand them, and I am standing up against it because I don't see why anyone would willingly pay more for something. To me, that doesn't make sense. That you would just one day wake up and be told you're going to pay more and that you'd be okay with that. So I'm standing up and saying, I don't want to pay that, right? And I may not be excited enough about Tears of the Kingdom to pick that up for that price, right? I may pass on that one. But if they put out like another Fire Emblem game or something at that increased price point, then I'll have to make that decision. But I got an awful lot of kickback on it, and I was really surprised because I'm not rude about stating my opinions. I'm not nasty. I didn't call anybody out or say that they were stupid for complying with Nintendo. I was just saying that I don't agree with the price increase. I think it portends something bad for the future. And I was very surprised by how many people took poorly to that. And I, I'm dumbfounded. I was calling it Nintendo derangement syndrome yesterday. I don't know why you would just be okay with that,
I mean, I
even if
think
you love it. We've been going years for all these AAA titles being $60, and we're suddenly going to increase it, and you're just okay with that. Like, oh, Nintendo deserves it. Nintendo is not hungry for anything. They are
um
not starving. Nintendo is doing extremely well. Um, I don't understand, especially regardless of whether you think there's going to be a Switch 2 or a Switch Pro or we're going to have a next gen console. When you look at the life of the Switch, we're got to be getting towards the end of it. So we're going to have a price hike on the games at the end of it. It just doesn't make sense to me. And I stated that opinion very, I thought, cleverly yesterday, and it really kind of like triggered people. And yeah, I wasn't really happy with those interactions. So yeah, what do you think about the increase?
I I actually have the game pre-ordered already on Best Buy, and I think that all the people that already have it pre-ordered, it was locked in. So all I did was pay like $60 for mine. But for people who basically waited till this year to have a pre-order, I feel like that wasn't fair because like maybe they were just waiting to collect the money or whatnot, and like now they're gonna have to be stuck with this $70 greed. And I consider it greed because it's not a like if you look at the Nintendo Switch, it's not a new gen, but it's also not in a previous gen. If you compare its system to other systems, I think it would match like a PlayStation 3, right? So it makes no sense that that would be the case where they would raise the price right now when we're already, like you said, at the end of like the generation of the Nintendo Switch. Like we're coming to an end, so why are they raising the price? I mean, I did hear that it was just for this one game, but I think it's still not just, it's not justifiable because they can easily make it $60. It was $60 before the direct, it should still be $60 after. That's my opinion.
Yeah, like I said, I was just surprised by how quick people are to jump on things. And, over the last week, we've had all the stuff with Harry Potter. And I won't really get into, the specific things that were said to me or about me. But there was people that were really upset if you just covered the game. I said I wasn't even going to play it, but I covered the game on the show and said that people should play it if they want to, and I got a lot of backlash for that too. So my message to the community that I love and adore so much, and you all know I do, and I've been part of it for quite a while here, and I love the little community we've cultivated. Y'all need to chill out because I honestly, when we really get heavy on this stuff, I almost don't feel welcome. Um, and that's a bad feeling to have because I've really enjoyed interacting with everybody. But a lot of the interactions I've had over the last week made me feel not welcome in my own community. So everyone needs to step back because you can go back and look at what I've tweeted or said in my YouTube videos. I have never been aggressive or hateful with anybody. But recently, people have not liked my opinions and they've been nasty about stating it and argumentative. And I don't know why. I'm open to discussion, discourse on anything, but not if you're going to start you know, arguments with "I'm just dead wrong" or if you're going to insult me. I don't want to be part of that kind of conversation. So I beg of everyone on all sides of all these different discussions in the community, just chill out. Just chill out. So that's my message. Um, what else? What else is going on this week? I know that there was some announcements that they announced that they were going to release the original Atelier game. That's going to be pretty neat.
Yes,
A lot of people
that's
are going to get to
awesome.
play that. Um, I like them. I'm not super crazy about it, but I know I saw a lot of our friends posting on Twitter that they were pretty excited about it. Does that excite you?
I like Atelier. I haven't had a chance to play. I do have all of the games at home. So I really need to sit down and play them. I'm just currently finishing up a game, so it's taking me longer than I expected. But this year is my RPG year. I call it the RPG 2023. So I am going to be dedicating my whole year and trying to play a lot of RPGs and avoiding Metroidvanias. I'm gonna try. I don't think it's gonna actually happen because especially since there's rumors that Silk Song might come out this year. But I mean, I do want to concentrate this year more on the RPGs. So let's see
Yeah,
what
if that comes out,
happens.
I imagine you'll just drop everything though.
Yeah, I mean, if Silk Song comes out, definitely. But it's like this year is really scary because not only is it like a lot of good games coming out for like the Nintendo, like from the Nintendo directly, but like from all of my indie games that I have on my list, I'm gonna be broke this year. There's just so many good games coming out. Metroidvanias, survival games, cozy games. Right now there is a summer, what is it called? A Steam Fest. That's what it's called. Steam Fest is offering you, but it's only, I think, till Sunday. So Steam Fest is offering demos for a lot of games that are coming out this year, and I've been trying out all of them today. And I found so many great titles, and I've been really considering like making a video on my YouTube channel just discussing some of the games that I found. I played a Metroidvania this. I don't want to talk about it too much on the podcast, but I instantly fell in love with this one. So, uh, there are going to be some really good games coming out this year. And for people who are collectors, this is going to be a year where you're definitely going to have to either sell a kidney or you're going to have to open up an OnlyFans, one or the other. So, because there's no other way we're going to, be able to afford these games. Not with that increase too. So if Nintendo keeps doing that, we're gonna be broke.
So this
Um,
just before the Nintendo Direct, it was probably about a week before, on the Nintendo Switch Online, they came down with those vouchers. And a couple people were excited about them because it allows you, I think you get like $10 off the games when you buy the two. Um, my concern with that is on like the physical game watch here. I'm like the great watchman for protecting physical games and game collecting because I'm an old retro dinosaur. To me, that seems like a pretty big push towards digital. And if we see stuff like that a lot, or if they make that a regular part of NSO, I think we're going to see a pretty big push towards digital. And I think that would really break the hearts of a lot of specifically Nintendo Switch collectors.
Yeah. I've never heard of this voucher.
Yeah, so if
Is
you
is
go into
this
the Nintendo Switch online, like where you can buy your like little icons and stuff, it's listed there, like right under where you can buy their like special controllers. I think it's also listed in the eShop. And I'm not going to complain about something that can save you money. And I've long been a proponent in saying that if we are going to end up eventually going to mostly digital, that they should be discounted, because there is not the cost of producing the case and the cart or the CD. Um, but it does definitely portend to push towards digital games. So if you haven't seen that, check it out. It may save you some money. It may be something for you. But I have almost never bought a full price release digitally. I can't. Like I buy indies all the time, and I may buy games that are out of rotation, that are older, that they're running sales on. Like I'll pick those up. Like I picked up Tales of Vesperia the other week and had a good time with that for a week and a half. Um, but I've never bought a digital game for $60. So I would have no use for that. Maybe some people do. But it did kind of raise my hackles a little bit about the whole push to digital. So we'll see what happens with that. I know you said that you were disappointed that we didn't get any special edition Switch consoles. I know my big disappointments. We had kind of talked about it in one of our discussions we had. There was some rumors that Nintendogs was actually going to make a comeback, and maybe it still will. But I had kind of been on like a joking push for Nintendogs, so I was hoping to see that, and unfortunately, that didn't happen. Um, and I know it's too early, but I was really hoping for some kind of announcement for Fire Emblem Engage Warriors. I really want to get Tecmo Koei involved with these characters from Engage and get them into some, horde hack and slash combat. And I think they will later in the year announce it, because I think that the original Fire Emblem Warriors game and then the Three Hopes game were very successful. So hopefully we'll get to see that. So we're going to go take a break here in just a moment. And then we come back, we'll have a lot more with Allie. My name is Jay from Cold Nights. Today, I want to bring attention to a plight that's facing our society. Every year, thousands of Nintendogs are neglected, abused, and starved as the games collect dust in closets and are thrown out by mothers cleaning the rooms of their kids that went off to college. So join me in petitioning Nintendo to bring Nintendogs to the Switch so that these wonderful Nintendogs may have another chance at life. All right, folks, we are back, and I'm here once again with Allie. Allie, you hanging in there?
I am.
Good times. So the second half, we do have a little pre-recorded, kind of from a podcast that we did end up releasing that I am going to patch in. I think it's real important about kind of some of the stresses and mental health stuff that goes with being a content creator, and being on social media a lot. So that's going to play next, and then we'll be rejoining and kind of just talking about what we've been doing recently. So that's coming up. And then I kind of want to talk about being a small content creator and some of the struggles that we have, and how it kind of can relate to mental health and kind of put you in a bad spot sometimes. So, the community can be great. But a lot of times there's some negativity attached to it, especially when you don't see the success that you expected to see, or things aren't going quite as well as you hoped they would.
I think people don't realize how big of an effect social media is, especially when it comes to a community like a niche community like the gaming community. For example, I just had a conversation with my brother, and I don't know the exact story, but he just mentioned to me that in Japan, there was like some really popular, I'm not sure if it was like an artist or a content creator. The thing is, basically, the person got bullied over the internet, was really bad. And so as a result, they basically committed suicide. And when Japan found out, like the Japanese government said, there are consequences to actions, and that people will now get penalized for also being bullied over the internet. And I think that this is actually a really good idea. Like, people should have consequences for something like this, because here we don't have consequences for utilizing social media and then having to, have cyberbullying or attacking someone for their personal opinions. There are no consequences because we have freedom of speech here. But I believe freedom of speech also should be coming with respect. And I think that when we utilize this ability to have the freedom of speech, I believe we should also use it, um, in small portions. We shouldn't be taking advantage of someone and hurting someone over social media because we have this freedom. I mean, what do you think? I mean, I heard this today and I said, I kind of agree with the Japanese government because, yeah, we have freedom of speech and that's something that we're known for. And yeah, that's great. But if someone is gonna shit on me all the time and hurt me, through the internet, that hurts. That really hurts our mental health. Nobody realizes, but behind that, camera, behind that screen is someone who can be emotionally damaged, and we can be just hurting them even more.
Yeah, I mean that I think that certainly happens. But I personally have never had any issues with bullying. I don't know if that's because I'm 3 times the size of everybody. But um I know that for me personally, when I put a lot of work into, say, a video or even a podcast, though those have been more successful than my videos, it kind of takes you to a weird place because you get upset that maybe not enough people are watching or subscribing, but you honestly, there's not a person to blame. I've seen people try to do that and they'll like lash out on Twitter or something. And it always ends very poorly for them because they're almost being accusatory towards people, being like, hey, I feel like this because you won't watch my content. And I think that's maybe not the right way to look at it. I could honestly say that I've recently been pretty depressed about how things are going for my channel. But it's not in an accusatory manner. I don't blame, groups of people, or I'm not angry that my whole Twitter following isn't watching my YouTube videos, but it's more of a like an interpersonal, internalized thing. And the thing is, I have a lot of great friends, some much more experienced content creators and great friends like you. Everyone knows that you're like my bestie. And the thing is, a lot of times, not just with something like this, like depression that is acute, that's triggered by something, but any mental illness, a lot of times it can be easy to try to explain things to people and tell them to feel better and not worry about it. The problem is, the reason it's mental illness and not just feeling sad is because you can't do that. When someone tells me to feel better, or that I'm thinking about it too much, or that I need to just wait and see, or with YouTube specifically, let the algorithm work or whatever, um, hearing that doesn't change anything, because when you suffer from depression and anxiety, common sense things don't necessarily register in your head when you hear them. I can hear you saying, don't worry about it. People will watch it. It was good. And I can hear that and I can acknowledge that and I can appreciate that. But honestly, it has very little bearing on how I feel. And I'm sure I'm not the only person. I'm sure a lot of people listening will be able to identify with this. So it kind of takes you to a place where you can't blame other people, and you can't blame YouTube because it's a business. They have a business to run. So whoever presents the product that they think will get the most views for whatever reason, is who they're going to go with. So it becomes very internalized, and it becomes about, what am I doing wrong and how do I fix this? And sometimes it's hard to find an answer from within when there's kind of like a muted like static over what everyone's telling you, and it really won't get through. So I'd really like to see in the comments if other people, specifically with content creation, experience this. Because it can be tough. It can be tough. I honestly almost wasn't able to do this podcast today because kind of like the state that I'm feeling right now. Um, so do you have any experience with some depression that's acute or anxiety that's caused by social media or content creation?
I don't think that I mean I put in the effort for videos and I noticed that every video that I put up, I don't get a really large view count, but then I will like search up other startup YouTube channels, maybe with similar content, and I'll see that they have much bigger views. And obviously I look and wonder like what's the difference. And as a female content creator, I can say that most of the time, and I don't know if other female content creators can relate, I'll start seeing like, is this content creator prettier than me or slimmer than me, or is she maybe, younger in the sense? And you start to think, well, maybe if I change my hair or do this, or maybe if I wear a blouse that's more revealing, and these are the things that I start to think about, and I just go, well, no, that's not what I'm really interested in. Like, I want people to see my content for who I am, and that fact that I love gaming, and this is something that is really a hobby that I'm passionate about. I'm not over here to make views because of just, the monetary purposes. I'm here to speak with, with other gamers about my hobby, and I hope that, they notice that passion within me and they'll go like, this person is worthy to follow. So I always promised myself that I was gonna, when I would start content creation, because it took me almost 2 years to finally decide to do it, I wasn't gonna do it for any reason, but just whoever follows me, whoever gives me that support, I'm gonna be 1,000% grateful for them because they were with me from the very beginning. And and just kind of go from there. And if the followers come, great. I will be very, honored to have everyone come over to my side. But if not, then I don't think I'm going to take it that, too much to heart, because, I've already put it in my mind that there are better content creators out there. Of course, they have more time. I have a family. I'm a full-time student. I work. There's no way that I can put out that kind of content creation that others are doing. And that's great for them and that's wonderful. But I just hope that my content does end up in the algorithm one day and people will be like, oh, well, this channel is really worthy. She really cares. No matter if she just posts one or two videos a month, but she really like puts her love into everything. This is someone who actually really appreciates this hobby. And like, I really want to stick around to find out more about her. And that's what I want. Those are the people that I'm seeking. I don't want to be known for, you know, there's this YouTuber that one time I heard of. Everybody in her comments make fun of her because she's a gamer, but she's always wearing revealing clothes. And I feel like that's not fair too, because people are only looking at her that way. And I don't think that's the reason she's wearing them, but all her comments are like that. And I don't want to be known as that person. You know what I mean? Like maybe for her, this is something that she's put an image out. But like I want to be known for being someone who actually just really loves this hobby. I don't want to be known as that girl that had to get views because of this or that. And I think that's the difference maybe for females versus males. But I'm sure males have to keep that image too. And I'm sure there are plenty of guys out there who compare themselves with other guys and they're like, oh, is he younger than me? Is that why? Or probably he's got more muscles. I don't know. But that's
Well, I
just what
hope
I
that's
take
not
it.
the case because I'm pretty sure that everyone is younger and more
Yeah,
attractive
it
and
is
thinner than
true.
me.
Because
So
I mean, we are like in that age where people probably would go for the younger generation, but I'm hoping that we catch the eye of our generation because we have that passion for gaming that's a little bit different from the younger generation. And I could be wrong, but I feel like this is how I feel sometimes. Like I feel like the ones that grew up with like the Nintendo, Super Nintendo, even before those systems, like there was probably before my time, there was even better systems that were retro, but like I'm hoping those appreciate our content more because we truly grew up with the video games.
yeah,
So
you know, I'm really I'm totally over the trying to physically impress people. Um, but for me, especially with the podcast, the thing I enjoy about it is finding people with the same interests as me and that can have an intellectual conversation with me about it. And that's what's really kept me going. When I make, I put all this work into that Fire Emblem Engage review, and in my head, trying to be analytical, I'm like, it's current, it's something people are interested in. Um, and when it does poorly, and I put a lot of work into it, the one thing that is kind of my saving grace is that I still have the podcast and I still, it does fairly well with views. But the thing that I enjoy is having friends on here and new people I meet too. Like when we had Mandy on a couple of weeks ago, I had only talked to Mandy in passing, and now I've learned that she's like a really cool person, and I've watched a lot of her streams and more of her content, and I've come to appreciate that. So not only is the podcast a place for me to talk with and get philosophical about games with my friends, but it's a great place to meet new people. So that's kind of what keeps me going. And it's that little community.
Oh, Jay, I wanted to tell you, you just reminded me, your last podcast. There is a rumor that they are talking about Nintendogs.
Maybe they heard me.
Maybe they were like, you know what, Jay, you were right. We need a Nintendogs because without Nintendogs, it's not Nintendo, right? So we're gonna give it to you guys tomorrow.
Where did you hear that?
There's leaks everywhere talking about Tamagotchi Life and Nintendogs. I don't know. I don't know if you were like, you know,
Yeah,
foretelling the future
yeah, I
or
got some
something.
clairvoyance going.
You probably
Wow.
have someone on the inside and you're not telling me.
No, I think I need to get into like telling fortunes, or I need to play some like lottery
Oh,
numbers.
I see. You quitting the podcast. Now you're gonna do fortune telling. That's
No,
that's what
yeah,
all of it is.
it's still going to be a podcast. I'm just going to tell fortunes live on the air and charge people money.
That would be amazing too.
I'll just tell people my Venmo and Cash App, and they can send me money for their fortunes.
Oh,
Wow.
well, that's what I
The
heard.
Nintendogs thing was partially a joke, but I honestly would play a new Nintendogs, and I think it's something that a lot of us enjoyed when we were younger, and it'd be something cool to get out for the new generation. So, hey, if that really becomes a thing, not only does that give me some clairvoyance cred, but that would be cool for everybody, I think. All right, so I hope you guys enjoyed that. Just it was a little riff we had. It was a podcast that we ended up scrapping, but we thought that was some pretty valuable information. Good stuff to talk about. But I just kind of wanted to talk about like kind of what we've been doing. A lot of the big video game news is come and gone. The direct's over, the holidays are over. A lot of the big releases have happened. Um, me, I just been I'm still on my Switch. I'm still converted. I'm really not doing a lot on the PS5 or the PS4. Um, you know, I went back to Fire Emblem Warriors after I played Engage and beat that. I've really been enjoying that. Remembering a lot of the characters from the past games, and even some of the games I didn't play. I find it's really fun when I encounter them in the game and I really like their design or their voice acting to look up their history from that game and learn a little about it. And it kind of makes me want to go back and play those games. And I have quite a few of them, in my collection, but they're obviously not, front and center and ready to be played. So I'd have to dig them up. But I've been kind of doing that a little bit. Um, and then because I was on the Fire Emblem craze, I had actually forgotten that Tokyo Mirage Sessions FE Encore for the Switch. I was really refreshed to play that. I played it only for a little bit. I'm not quite sure I'm ready to jump into something that's 40 or 50 hours again. But it was kind of cool to kind of experience a little bit of a couple of Fire Emblem characters, kind of like out of their universe and kind of get back into like a Persona style combat. And the game has great music and visuals, just like the Persona games do. So definitely not a new game, but I do suggest anyone that hasn't played that check that out. And then I did dig into quite a lot of the Nintendo Switch Online stuff. I know that they just dropped the Game Boy and the Game Boy Color, but I still been playing like the Sega stuff a lot. playing through a couple of the beat 'em ups on there, and playing a little of the old Mario Kart from the Super Nintendo. Um, so I've just kind of been enjoying those Nintendo Switch Online offerings. What have you been playing recently, Allie?
Oh, uh, okay. So I still am playing Harvestella. I'm starting to sound like a broken record. Um, and that is because the game is actually extensive. I think some people have done already like more than 100 hours in the game.
Oh wow.
I do want to write a review, but since it's last year's news, I'm not sure anyone would be interested in it anymore at this point. But it is a great game. It has some pluses, it has some minuses. But I believe the story is very engaging. If you give it a chance and you go past chapter two, you're really gonna fall in love with each of the characters. I feel like the only downside of this game is you're not really able to fully customize your character, and all I guess all the characters look the same. So if you're trying to build a female character or a male or a non-binary character, they all kind of look feminine in a way. So there's like really not a lot of customization. I feel like they tried to either A, they had very low budget and they couldn't make that in the game, or B, they kind of wanted to keep it that way so it was easier to customize to whatever, I guess preference you would prefer. I didn't like that. I mean, for me, it doesn't matter because like I'll pick the girl and that's it and put on some hair on her and the end. But like I felt like when I saw like guys play on the YouTube, like whoever picked like for example, you know, male basically, like it did not look like a male character at all. It still looked like a feminine character. And some of the NPCs that are supposed to be male, they're still kind of feminine. So, I don't know why they do it like that, but I just felt like everybody looks kind of the same in the game,
Yeah.
if that kind of makes sense. Like that was one of my like the drawbacks. I wish we could have customized and I wish we could have actually dressed them up, but we couldn't, and I'm guessing that was part of the budget. I'm also playing The Secret of Monkey Island. Um, I it's funny because I played that game probably when I was very little, like 11 or 12, my first time when it was still like that ugly, it's not ugly, I'm sorry. Oh my God, now people are gonna be like, oh my gosh, she's hating on retro games. Uh, but if you actually play the special edition, the remastered version, and they have a toggle button where you can toggle between like the original and the new version. And I'm sorry, but I can't believe we used to play in those graphics and we were happy about it. I mean, like you could tell the difference and it's so big. I just can't believe like this was something that we were, this was what we were playing when we were kids and we were happy about it because the graphics look so great now and back then it looked like pixels and you couldn't even tell if it was a person. Um, but I really am enjoying Monkey Island. I really like point and click games. They really relax me when I'm like stressed for school. Like it's really hard for me to think right now. I haven't really picked up my Switch, so I've been playing on my PC with that game. Um, and really great. I want to kind of finish through all of the Monkey Island series. So we started with the first one, and it's actually really comical. It's funny. Some of the jokes that they're doing nowadays, I feel like back then we were really open and we said things even though knowing that kids would might be playing this game. And like when I heard some of the jokes that they were saying, I was like, oh my God, like what if I was playing this when I was 11? Like they just basically said, take out your sword and use it like as if you were making love. And I was like, holy crap, what the heck? I was like, this is not what I was playing when I was a little kid. I don't remember that. So it's kind of subtle, but it's sad that we don't do kind of these things anymore. I feel like that's what made games so much fun, like the subtleness of adult jokes in the games. It was really fun. So I'm playing that right now. And then of course I'm going through a bunch of demos um for Steam Fest. So that's also one of the things that we're doing.
Nice.
I'm doing that. And yeah, that's about all I'm doing. I'm not really playing that many games. Like I said, I'm in my last semester in my master's of social work right now, so really hard for me to pick up video games at this moment. I'm too stressed to even think straight. So kind of just playing a little bit here and there.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
that's cool. It actually kind of reminded me. Um, I was thinking about things that kind of uh, upset me or that I question that a lot of these video game companies do. And I know earlier in the podcast I was talking about Nintendo, but we're right around that release window for the PlayStation VR 2, and I think it is almost comical that we're putting out a $700 peripheral. I it it makes me think of things like consoles like 3DO and the CDI, the Jaguar. Um, some of these things are just like we're not learning. We should have learned from those mistakes that happened in the early and mid 90s. That when you put something that is so far above the average consumer's reach, and expect people to somehow purchase it, especially in an economy that's strangled by inflation right now. I really question that. I saw a couple streamers and people talking about it and getting excited about the games. My thought is, are you going to buy that? I mean, and if you do, more power to you. But I can't imagine buying an add-on for a system that costs almost twice what the system does. Um,
I saw something on this morning. I wasn't really aware of what it was. Can you like explain it a little bit more? Like I saw there was like some kind of add-on. I just didn't understand. Like I guess because it's not part of the Nintendo Switch, and I'm sorry, but like regular consoles for me, like I don't really pay attention to some
well,
of
I
this
mean, did you have the
accessories.
first VR?
I've never had a VR, so
So
if
the
this
PlayStation VR, we had the original one, and I thought that was awful expensive when it was like $400 or whatever it was. Um, and basically, it connects to the system, and it has like its own, almost like little system box that does whatever,
Mhm.
gives it, I guess it I don't know, does the processing for it and stuff, and then it connects wired to the headset, and you put the games in your PlayStation just like normal. So the PSVR 2 is supposed to be more powerful and offer more, a better display and all that, but the price has doubled, and it's not backwards compatible with the first PlayStation VR. So all the PlayStation VR games you had before will not work with it. And to me, that is out of this world. Like we had the first one, and I bought 9 or 10 horror games for it, and I bought my son like Job Simulator and Job Simulator 2, whole bunch of like kids games for it, and he had a great time with it. But to think that if I'm to drop $700 on this new peripheral for the PS5, that I can't even play those PS4 VR games, that's really sad. And I really questioned the decision by Sony to launch it at that price. I think that if the technology going into it was going to cost that much, you probably should have just scrapped the idea. I can't imagine that it's going to go well. Maybe if you're a collector, if you get your taxes and you can, afford that extra money, it might be wise to get because I don't think it's going to be made for very long. Um, but to me, that would be the only reason. Um,
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't. I feel like if you have $700 to spare right now on something that's, anywhere worth that kind of price range, it would be the Steam Deck, honestly. I wouldn't go, I mean, I know that the whole virtual reality thing is appealing to many. But for me, I'd rather spend $700 on something that I know that I'm gonna take and I guess have use for it for a variety of things, not just for the virtual reality. And I know the Steam Deck, for example, you're able to play all your digital games. You're able to do the Xbox Pass on it if you're paying monthly. You're also able to play emulator, like emulating all the systems that you want to play and play them on the Steam Deck, and they all work wonderfully. Like I've already started finishing like all the Castlevania games on it. So if I'm gonna drop $700, like I need to know that it's because it's giving me some kind of purpose and not just putting it on my head and playing, a 7 I don't even know how much these games are gonna be for this game for the system. I'm guessing like regular PlayStation 5 games, right?
Well, I know that
Um,
with the PS4, a lot of the VR games are not first party games. They're from like third party publishers, and a lot of them are shovelware. So some of them might be 40 or $50 because they're not
and
even that great a quality.
and some of them I still might be scalped because they're probably limited prints from like limited runs. So, um, I mean, it's not worth it for me. I don't know, but
I
that's
just
just
think
my
it's crazy,
personal
man. I
opinion.
don't think it's
Yeah,
worth it for
700.
anybody. If
Yeah.
you can afford it, like I said, if you're a diehard collector, if I could go back in time and buy up a couple CDIs and 3DOs and leave them in their boxes, you'd make a fortune now. Um, because I think even back then people knew that those consoles were going to fail. So maybe buy it and keep all the stuff for it so it can be complete
Hmm.
in box. But other than that, I can't imagine who's got that kind of expendable
I
income.
don't
I
think
make a lot of money.
anyone
I don't. So
Yeah, like I don't think anyone these days can afford what's going on out there. Like figures are starting to be more than $100. If you're a collector like I am, it sucks because especially if you're collecting all different stuff. I remember when hardcover books were only like 17, $18 and now they're 34, $35. And I mean I collect a lot of things, plushies, figures, they're all going up in price and yeah, it's pretty bad. I mean, I don't know why they're charging double for everything. Is it because of the pandemic or they just utilize the pandemic as an excuse? I'm not sure, but what I do know is it's really starting to get more difficult to be a collector of many different, I guess, various items such as video games, dolls, figures, books, anime, manga. Like everything is really expensive now. So, I mean, it sucks. It really does. And it's like you want everything? So
I'll be honest, like in the last year, because everything has become so expensive, whether it's the rise in price for your average Xbox and PlayStation game, or whether it's the increased cost of collectibles and things like that. Um, I've really kind of tried to double down this year with playing the stuff I have. Like I had to get engaged, and there'll be a couple games that I absolutely have to pick up, but I blew through a massive amount of money last year.
yeah.
Normally in a year, I'll set aside X amount of thousands of dollars to enjoy for leisure, which is mostly games and stuff like that. And I blew through it and kind of struggled financially at the end of the year. So um, I'm going to try to scale back on that, partially out of necessity, but partially out of, kind of like I talked about with some people yesterday on Twitter, voicing my like concerns in capitalism, using my voice because some of this stuff is too expensive. And I might have been on board when the stuff was 40, 50, $60, but when every game is 70 plus and collector's editions are skyrocketing, I really can't afford the stuff, but also I really should try to take a stand and say I'm not going to pay for that. And that's how the system works. If enough of us don't, they're going to have to relook at their pricing structures. So it kind of fills two purposes there. Trying to save my own financial hide and not go broke like I did last year, but also trying to use my voice as a consumer and try to scale some of this back because I think it is getting out of control.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think that just about wraps us up for today. Um, we covered some good stuff. Um, Collecting is getting expensive. People need to calm down online. And the Nintendo Switch Direct was great, but that price increase does suck. So, any last words, Ali?
No, that's it.
Good deal. All right, so we got some big ones coming up over the weekend and into Monday. We will have my wife, Mrs. Cold Nights, making her debut on a solo podcast, and then Sunday morning we will have our Valentine's special focused on MMOs and gaming as a couple, where we will have me and my wife. And the incredible Miss Mandia and her husband will be joining us as well for
Oh,
that special.
lovely. Awesome.
And then we will have on Monday, Andy and Manganzu, for an incredible Nintendo and Breath of the Wild blowout debate, and I'm sure that's going to be a lot of fun and real good. So uh, make sure everyone tunes in. We got some fun content coming up, and I'm sure next week we'll have Ali and Phil back on the show, and we'll kind of be doing our weekly shows again. So as always, thank you for listening. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And let's say it together, Ali. As always, stay
Stay creepy.
creepy. Yeah,
I've been wanting to do that.
it's fun. And we actually got it right because the last one not good.